Coming to you from the greatest city in the world, this is the #1 showbiz podcast. It's Talk for Two. Here's your host, Matt Bailey.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome in everybody to another episode of Talk for Two. And thank you to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Band Network. Axtel.com. Axtel Expressions has amazing products. And of course, tangentbandnetwork.com has over 100 podcasts, hours and hours of media for you to listen to. So if you like this show, I know you're going to love everything else Mark Bogner has to offer. Now, today is a day of controversy here on Talk for Two. As many of you know, especially if you've been with us since the beginning, our show got its start in the variety arts community. And when I announced our next guest in some magic-related groups on Facebook, the reaction toward him was as divided as it has always been among both professional and amateur magicians. Val Valentino angered many in the magic community by revealing some of magic's biggest secrets as the masked magician on Fox's TV series, Breaking the Magician's Code. Though he committed magic's cardinal sin, several stood by him and even appreciated the exposure the series was giving to the art of magic. I decided, because I'm very curious, I have a lot of questions, and this show does not discriminate, that I wanted to get to the heart of Val Valentino, but do it a little differently, respectfully. Find out who this man is, why he did it, the man behind the mask, if you will. The magicians that dislike what he has done have a right to feel hurt. I'm a brother, I get it. I'm a performer. But we must remember that Valentino is a person with emotions himself. I wanted to know the things nobody has ever cared to ask him, especially not magicians. Who was Val before the mask? And how did he cope with the backlash that followed the original special in the late 90s? I asked him point blank towards the end of the interview, how did you deal with being ostracized by some pretty big-name magicians? Now, he knew that Fox was going to do it with or without him, or even without a magician. And he wanted to make sure the magic was handled properly. Val even talks candidly about getting the producers to change up some of the methods to something, in his words, a bit more silly. As for me, a magician myself, I admit fully in the interview that I watched Breaking the Magician's Code as a kid, and I have since rediscovered it on Netflix. Yes, I am giving it that plug that you can go watch it, because it inspired me to think differently about magic. And I know several magicians in my generation that feel the same way. In a recent interview I did with Jason Havey on his podcast, Spinning Logic, I talk about how I feel that the code doesn't exist anymore. It can't, guys. In this day and age, with answers at our fingertips, I'm sure some people are Googling the methods in the theater. So to place all our attention on protecting the method is misguided. The focus must always be on the whole entertainment package. And it is with this spirit that I say, here now, truly unmasked, our interview with Val Valentino. Val Valentino, the masked magician, welcome to Talk for Two. How are you today, sir?
Matt, I'm doing wonderful, and it is wonderful to be on your program. Thank you.
Well, thank you for doing this. This is going to be fun. I want to begin at the beginning like I always do with all of my guests. How did you get started in magic?
I got started in magic at a very young age. About as far back as I can remember, it started around when I was 5 years old. So I've been doing it a very long time.
That's great. Yeah, I was reading about that. I think it was a cup and ball trick, one of those ball and vase things, right? You saw that?
Oh yeah, that was like my first real magic trick at the age of 5. It was a ball and vase trick.
Yeah. Where were some of your first performances? Did you do neighborhood birthday parties? How did you become a performer in magic?
Well, I had the dream as far back as I can remember, and I believe a lot in creative visualization. So I did a lot of that when I was very young. I grew up in a broken home, no father, so my mother raised my brother and myself.
Wow.
And I had a lot of free time.
Yeah.
So I used to invent and create all of my own stuff before I even knew what magic really was. And it's about all I've ever done is magic.
Yeah. When did you, now you were not born Val Valentino. What was your name at birth? Your legal name?
It was Leonard R. Montana, and I legally changed it when I was around 18, 19 years old, something like that, to Val Valentino.
Wow. What was where did you come up with that name? That's such a clever magician name.
It was a couple things. See, I always felt that my father's name was my father's name, wasn't really my name.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I would use my middle name, and then I realized that my life path was going to be in entertainment, and then it's also part of the family name,
Mm-hmm.
Valentino, and I just took that name on, kind of like as a show business name, Valentino, and then it just stuck. And friends were just starting to call me Val, and then it just evolved, and the name fit the character. It felt like it was my name, so I adopted it.
You talk about character, very interesting there. Let me ask you, of course, we all know about the masked magician character, but as a performer, what would you say your character was outside of the masked magician when you were performing as a magician?
Val Valentino is a magician with elegance, maybe a little charm. Those are my motivations. Also, it was a persona that was created, but at the same time, a lot of it was myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, it very much is a character.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about one thing in particular that I was reading about. I don't know of course, how many years into your career you did this, but this seems interesting to talk about. You performed for a circuit called the Unified School System, doing shows for, I think, over 1 million children. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yes, I can. I'll add a little more to that.
Please.
When all through junior high school, I was a theater arts major.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this was a way to achieve my dream. So, in the 11th grade, the last day, our drama teacher, the kids that were, left,
Yeah.
because it was seniors didn't go on the last day, and so there was just a few of us there. And the teacher had a heart-to-heart talk with us, telling us that although we were all very good at theater arts and very professional and trained all these years, that we should all really think about getting a real job.
Yeah.
That the chances of anyone making it in entertainment was such a long shot, not to take it seriously, find a real job. And basically, it crushed my dreams really, really bad.
Yeah.
So I really took it to heart. I know she didn't mean bad or anything, and I have full forgiveness for her, but it did crush me at the time. And on my senior year, I stopped doing magic. I just stopped. I actually felt like I was not living anymore. It took me a while to process what she was telling me. So I got a job at a school in Los Angeles, and they put me in the media department, which would, videotape programs and things for the school functions and things. And they had a program that came through the LA City Unified School District called ICAP, the Intercultural Awareness Program. And out of a moment of inspiration, I told the principal of the school that I wanted to know more about the program. Then I explained my history as a magician. And anyways, an audition was set up. I put a show together a 55-minute show, which showed different types of magic from around the world. So it was very cultural. So, I did some magic from China, from Spain, and Japan, and so forth, and giving a little bit about history about the magic. Well, it went over great, and I wound up performing at schools all over Los Angeles for about 9 years. I was one of the favorites of the schools, and so I had a lot of training because I performed a lot. So it actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
It's wonderful. And actually, teaching tricks, I was reading again, that teaching tricks was a part of the program that you put together for that circuit.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of it was inspiration. One big message was for all children to follow their dreams, no matter what people tell them, to hang on to their dreams. I would teach them some magic in the show, and would also turn in some paperwork for them to talk about the show afterwards. And then I taught them a few other tricks. And it was just, sharing the magic, getting the kids interested, and most of all, for them to believe in themselves. That's what my motivation was.
That's wonderful. Now, we got to transition to it. How did Nash Entertainment and Fox find you for Breaking the Magician's Code?
Well, apparently, they had gone all over the country and did their research looking for magicians, and they came across me. And at the time, I was performing. Let me see. I was at the Sands in Las Vegas. Then I was also performing my touring show. We were prepping it, and I was performing in Laughlin. And then someone had seen me in Laughlin and told them, but that at that same moment, the show was traveling to Biloxi, Mississippi, at a casino there.
Yeah.
And that's where they came in to see me live. So they seen my full hour-and-a-half show, and I fit the criteria. And at first, I turned it down. It just didn't make sense to me. But then after, I guess it took maybe about a month of going back and forth with them. I kept turning it down. They kept calling. And when it finally got to the point, well, okay, they're going to do the program with me, without me, with somebody else. Maybe, it could have been someone behind the mask that wasn't even a magician.
Yeah.
Because, magic props are very, they're not real hard to find and get. Well, anyways, they agreed to reveal old secrets or old magic, and they also allowed me to change some of the methods. And once that was agreed, then I said, okay, I can do this, because it made more sense for a magician to be on the inside helping, working with the show, than not. That's why you'll see a lot of illusions that are kind of, I'm not going to say silly, but the reveals, like levitating with a forklift behind the curtain. I mean, that's just not really going to be done.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot of illusions that are just like that. Originally, it was only going to be one special. That was it. One special. It was all going to be over. But then it just had a mind and of its own, and it turned into what it is now. Huge.
Yeah.
Very.
And it got really huge overseas. I think in between the first and the second special, Brazil, Japan. What do you make of that? I mean, American magicians, I think, got really angry, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But one thing I find interesting is that in Japan, you were doing so many television appearances with the mask and overseas. What do you make of that disconnect between how American audiences, Western audiences reacted to it, and Eastern audiences reacted to the show?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, it is a show. That's all it was, is a show. And Fox had got their PR department, and they came up with a strategy of, there's a magician revealing the magic, and he's receiving death threats, and so on and so forth. And all that was predetermined before magicians even knew that there was a show being made of this revealing the illusions.
Mm-hmm.
So when the first press release came out, it was already saying that we were receiving death threats, and it was hiding, and it was this and that. But magicians didn't even know yet. So the magicians in the U.S. fell right into the hands of the PR machine of Fox, and didn't really look at anything else, because they just got caught up in it. But I was on the inside, so I was actually seeing everything from a different perspective. And to me, it was still all good for the art of magic, because at that time, everyone was talking about magic.
Yeah.
It was on the lips of everyone. And it gave magic kind of a new revival. And I wish at the time magicians really would have thought it out and taken advantage of the opportunity to, like, for instance, I reveal the trick. Let's just say the sword basket.
Right.
And we revealed how the girl is inside, and that was it. Now, I have a live touring show that I do, and in the touring show, we do perform the sword basket, and we show, how it's over the camera on stage. The girl curls up, and then the girl comes out of the basket, and then 3 or 4 other girls come out of the basket. And that part we don't explain. So that's what I was hoping magicians would have caught on to, because the secrets that I was giving, there was always a better way to do it. But nobody caught on to that. So it was more about just attacking me, and also, the producer of the show and everything. But okay.
I'll tell you, I caught on to it. I watched the show, and actually, I did an interview. I'm a magician myself. I don't know if you know that. That's how this show sort of came about. And
oh, great.
Yeah, and I watched the show growing up, and I loved it. And I sort of called the code in an interview that I did. I called it stupid, but I used a different word. This idea that it's all about the secrets. What do you make of our obsession with method? With the method is the only thing behind what makes the trick entertaining for an audience. Do we focus too much on that?
Absolutely. And at the time, everything, magic for one thing was about to change. Not just magic, but everything, music, movies, everything, because of the internet. All the information on the internet was changing the world at the time, and magic had to change as well. And at that time, some magicians were very complacent, with what was out there. They weren't really, pushing magic forward and creating. And I've been a performer, my entire life, and it isn't about the secret. It's about the performance. It's about everything involved and everyone that's involved. Di Vernon used to do a great linking ring routine, and it was actually one of the favorites of everyone. And in his linking ring routine, he would perform the linking rings, and then he would ask people if they wanted to know how he did it, and he showed them. He showed them the key ring, and he showed them what he would do, and then he says, "Okay, I'm going to do it again, but we're not going to use this ring with a gap in it." And he throws that aside, and then he blows them away. with the Lincoln Ring routine, because now they know how it's done, but then he took it to the next level. So it isn't about the secret. It's really about everything, the entire package, and getting your audience involved in your show.
Yeah, and off of that, we hear so much negativity about, people that didn't like you and didn't like what you did with the show. But I'm curious to know if you ever got any mail, ever got any letters that were positive. Hey, watching this helped me think, helped me create, helped me think differently about magic. Was there ever anybody that got into it because of the show? Did you ever hear any of those kinds of stories?
Yes, yes, I did. Yeah, in the beginning, there was I would say that it was about 50-50. And I got some, how disappointed we are in you and revealing these secrets, and, they don't support this idea. But then there were the other ones who were actually from, like, actual performers who says, in the beginning, I was angry because you revealed this, and this, that's in my show. But I have to tell you that after that, it got me thinking, and I improved all of my tricks, and I even changed a few things, and it forced him, and there are a lot of magicians that I got the same message from. It forced them to rethink what they were doing, what magic was, and it actually improved their game. So some magicians, or I should say a lot of magicians, did get it. But there are also the ones that, they had a few moments of fame because they were interviewing magicians at the time. So if they talked bad about me, they were TV. There were wonderful magicians like Lance Burton who never said a bad thing. He says, we support you, Val. We understand what you're doing. And, he went like on hard copy and talked about that. So it was about a 50-50 split, I would guess, in the beginning.
Yeah. It's interesting to me. I don't know if you perform as Val Valentino much anymore, or if it's all about, or if you're all about the character these days. But I am curious. In the beginning, how did your work on the show affect you going out and doing stage shows yourself? What did you change about the Val Valentino act coming back off that first special?
Oh well, yeah. That whole time, it was really, really crazy because it was like, I think even Lance had said that it's like if magicians lost their minds. And, so magicians were, I don't know, they were like throwing lawsuits. They were trying to stop exposure, which in my mind was great. Because one of the many things that we learned by having the specials out was the legal side of it. Mm-hmm. Magician secrets were not protected and still are not protected. I know we're working on that a little bit, but it was the first time that there was a realization, oh, shoot, nobody's paying attention and nobody's protecting the art.
Mm-hmm. Should they be?
So you can put...
Should the secrets be protected? Should more stuff be patentable than sort of is right now in terms of secrets?
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that everyone was learning. And I know there are some efforts, like in China, they're trying to get it where the illusions can be patented and preserved. But then again, there's always that fine line. You change a few things and now it's something else. But it's really, really difficult to patent an illusion because, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, there is one question I want to ask you because, again, I think sometimes people are quick to dismiss you as a person because of some things that happen. And if I may get a little personal, and again, if you don't want to answer this, we'll cut it out. How have you coped with the side of magic, the magicians that have ostracized you? How have you coped with that?
Okay, how did I cope with the magicians ostracizing me?
Yeah.
One, okay, for one thing, um, somehow I had the vision that this was going to be huge for magic in the long run for many reasons.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, just like finding out the legal aspects about art craft and how, the patenting of illusions. Another thing is how magicians from all over the world all of a sudden became kind of united, and they were talking about this one subject, and that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of all these different organizations doing their own thing, there was actually some real things happening, some real talk going on. So from my gut feeling and from my heart, I knew that, and I knew it would take time, that in the long run, magicians would see the good that came out of the project, because they were going on, public TV and then all the Entertainment Tonight and all the magazines saying that magic was ruined. I've ruined magic forever, and magic is over, and people's careers are going to be gone. Nobody's going to want to see magic anymore. When the complete opposite has happened,
Yeah.
it inspired new generations of magic. And one of the great things is magic is accepted now in places where it wasn't accepted before, like Indonesia. It's a heavy Muslim country, and they see magic as real witchcraft. They didn't distinguish it as an art form. But then after the shows aired, they were educated, and it was like, oh, this is an art form. So now magic is huge in Indonesia and the Asian countries. China, magic is only about 7 years old there now. It's been accepted just 7 years ago. Yeah.
Wow, that's
For the very same reasons too. So now magic is now accepted as an art form, alongside with ballet and music and everything else. And there's schools of magic, it's in universities, and that's amazing to me. And the one I'm working on right now is the Middle East, co-authoring a book with Media Spark Books. It's on the history of magic, but it's mainly to show the difference between witchcraft, which they still believe magic is, and the art of magic. So, it's only been a couple years now that magicians are actually able to perform in certain places in the Middle East. There was one magician years back that he was executed for doing park tricks in the street. And so that was horrible. So that's been a big mission of mine, is changing the consciousness of countries like this. And this has been ongoing, and we've made huge strides everywhere. So it's been great for magic.
That's incredible. Off of that, I know there was a 13-episode run in 2009, and actually I want to say that both seasons, the first 5 specials and then which, were you involved in that weird 5th one where the mask was different and was
No, yeah, because on the 4th special, like I mentioned, it was only going to be one special. That was it. It was going to be over.
Yeah.
And then it went to 2, then to 3, and then to 4. And for me, I had done my part.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, all right, if I remove my mask, it'll be over. My job is done. It'll be over for me. So I removed the mask. So then they went ahead and the Fox did a 5th special. So I was not involved in that at all. I was out.
Mm.
I was out of that completely by then. But because the character and the masked magician and also Val Valentino, everyone knew, who I was, who the character was, and they didn't accept the other character. It's kind of like, like I was there kind of first, and that's everything after that's a copy.
Yeah, you established it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what happened with that. So then when it came down to doing the series, they were all actually already in pre-production, and then they approached me. I guess somewhere down the line they said no, they have to get me back.
Yeah.
So I agreed to do it, but that was like pretty much the last, because now it was changed, like I was talking about changing the consciousness of magic in other countries, and so much other work I've been doing and needed to do. But no, I was not involved in that special at all.
And then the 13 episodes, like you said, you did. So you wouldn't do it again if they said we want to do another season? You wouldn't go back?
If it's possible to create something new, something different, because when we came up with the look of the show and the different kind of music, and it was new. It was new. We're performing in a warehouse. It wasn't a stage. Their idea was an executioner outfit and on a Las Vegas stage, revealing, how each trick is done. And it was like, no, we could do so much more. And we wound up creating this actually beautiful show that was compelling and just kind of draws you in. And it was the look and the different kind of music and
And the mask. The mask itself is really cool.
The mask, and it made magicians think, and hey, we could do something different. So if something like that comes along, and if they would agree to create something different, that I would be interested in that. That would be exciting. As long as it's good for magic and it keeps the word magic on people's lips and minds, we magicians win.
That's wonderful. And speaking of magic, what is next for Val Valentino? What you talk a little bit, maybe here's where you want to talk a little bit more about that mission internationally, but where are you performing? What are you doing now that the show's off and you're back to the touring life?
Well, I do a lot of personal appearances. I have a touring show. However, I'm coming to a point where my priorities are changing. And so what I'm mainly focusing on now is, how can I say this? Giving back to the public, giving back to where I grew up. I grew up in Los Angeles, and I go to other countries and I see areas like Brazil. They have the favelas. It's where there's a lot of crime. It's the low income, and every country has these areas. So I personally am financing with my own money so it can be free to young people. And I'm targeting like junior high and high school students. And basically, I'm using magic as a vehicle to reach them. So I'm going to teach them magic. They'll even receive certificates and actually become, like a magician. But it's going to be free to the communities. And this is what I want to do. This comes from my heart. This is from my passion. But the real message, like when I did the school shows, it's more about inspiring the kids, letting them know that dreams do come true, that they have roads that they can choose. They can go one path that's going to, they'll wind up in jail or dead or something, or they can go other paths. And so that is my big project at this time.
That's wonderful.
That I'm working on.
That's really cool. And my last question for you, I know we said we'd try to keep this in around a half hour. My last question for you is, and I never let my guests go without this question, what is your advice for somebody listening, somebody watching Breaking the Magician's Code, that wants to get into magic? What is your advice for people that want to make magic a career?
My advice is, let's see, we've been number of things. One is, of course, education. Learn as much about magic as you can. The history of magic, eat, breathe magic. Buy the books, get the DVDs, learn from the ones that are out there willing to teach. Creative visualization is huge. That's, meditation, and you see your future, you see everything in detail. Because your mind, your brain, your mind is like a genie. Whatever you tell the genie you want, this genie's going to get it. That's what your mind is designed to do. So creative visualization is huge. And the biggest thing, is to believe in yourself and believe that dreams do come true, because they do. And also take classes, especially in improvisation, because that really hones your performing skills. And if there are no improvisation clubs or something in somebody's area where they live, create one, start one. I did that here in Las Vegas early on. We just made our own our own improvisation classes that, we do 2-3 times a week. The performers in town, and just to hone our performance skills. And so, believe in oneself is a big one.
Believe in oneself. Well, Val Valentino, thank you so much for your time here today. I really appreciate it. This was fantastic. Thank you so much.
Matt, thank you very much, and continued success to you, my friend.
Val, this honestly turned out better than I could have ever hoped. Thank you so, so much. And to hear more on my thoughts about magic, exposure, and even podcasting, check out my episode of Spinning Logic, linked below. Jason Havey is a fantastic host and interviewer, and we really, really had a fun time. That's it for us today. Thank you again to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Bound Network. Stay tuned to talkfor2.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for more from the #1 performing arts podcast. Reach out by emailing talkfor2cast@gmail.com and talk about us on social media using hashtag talkfor2. Signing off for Talk for Two, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding everyone out there to keep talking for two.
You can hear more show business interviews with the stars at talkfor2.com.